uh, around 2 million people die because of waterborne diseases. So we know that how much catastrophically we have been using water. This Shrankla is going to focus on both things: how water has shaped architecture and how water has shaped urban settlements. We have a very seasoned and acclaimed academician with us, Savita Sabharwal, architect Savita Sabharwal, who has been working relentlessly on this cause and conservation and water related matters. We are starting this new series where we are focusing on different urban settlements, urban waterscapes. We are starting with Central India. Uh, it will all depend upon Savita Didi how she wants to curate this series, but we may go all around the India, and we may, then cross boundaries and we can go to international places also. Um, so I'm really delighted to have her amongst us. She's my senior and a very respectable person in the circuit of academia. Welcome to you, Didi, and I give back to Mrunmayee. Mrunmayee, take over.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your thoughts and welcoming Savita ma'am here. I would like to give an introduction of Savita ma'am. So Professor Savita Raje is a landscape architect and has been engaged in teaching for last 32 years at Maulana Azad National Institute of Technology, Bhopal, and School of Planning and Architecture, Bhopal. She has been the UNESCO expert for Heritage Issue of Madhya Pradesh through 2004 to 2009 and was invited as a trainer cum resource person by UNESCO headquarters at Paris. She was an expert in the UNESCO mission to Bhopal, Gwalior and Ujjain and has authored a report titled Recommendations for the Safeguarding the Future of Historic Urban Landscapes of Madhya Pradesh. This report was submitted by UNESCO to Madhya Pradesh government. She has worked extensively in the cities of Bhopal, Gwalior and Maheshwar, and on her initiation, all the three cities have been included in the UNESCO's network of Indian Cities of Living Heritage. She has been a jury member for the postgraduate program in architecture at the School of Architecture, Paris, and is a member of the Scientific Committee of Mediterranean Design Association, Italy. She is the founder of the Masters of Landscape Architecture at the School of Planning and Architecture, Bhopal, and also responsible for starting Masters of Architecture and Conservation at SBA Bhopal during her tenure as a head of Department of Architecture. She is the president of the Living Heritage Alliance, a non-profit voluntary organization committed to the research, conservation and education towards the architectural and landscape heritage and of its due integration into the cities of the future. She has traveled to most parts of the world, spoken at many prestigious international conferences, and has conducted 5 international workshops in association with Indian and French partners. She has organized exhibition on the waterworks of Rajasthan and the living architectural landscape heritage of Bhopal in collaboration with international and Indian organizations. She is one of the co-authors of the Interbah Venice Declaration and has authored the chapter titled The Essence of Built Heritage through the Concept of Total Experience for the Cambridge Scholar Publications prestigious book Venice Chapter Revisited, Modernism, Conservation and Traditions in the 21st Century. She has also edited the 7th issue of the international journal Spandrel, dedicated to historic urban landscapes. She was awarded the research project titled Integrating Landscape Design into the Urban Development Process to Mitigate the Negative Impact of Land Cover Changes under the Thrust Area in Technical Education Scheme of MHRD. She has also headed the Independent Review and Monitoring Agency, IRMA, for the projects funded by JNNR URM, Ujjain, and has been part of the core team of the prestigious Berkeley Scholarship awarded to SPA Bhopal. She has been invited to deliver special lectures at School of Planning and Architecture, New Delhi, the Technical University of Bari, Italy, and at the RCVP Academy of Administration, Bhopal, for the training programs of the IS and IPS officers. She has delivered keynote addresses at many prestigious national and international conferences. She is a member and expert in many central government committees, including Archaeological Survey of India. She has a few designs to her credit as the Drupad Sansthan, Urdu Academy, Landscape Design of Ahilya Garden Maheshwar, Police Housing Corporation Bhopal. She has held the position of the Registrar of Manet, Member of Board of Governance at SVA Bhopal, Chief Vigilance Officer at SVA Bhopal, Member of Education Board of ISOLA, and the jury member of the National Awards in Landscape Architecture Profession and Academics. With her initiation, ISOLA Madhya Pradesh chapter has been established in the month of March 2021. Her presentation today will focus on the typology of urban waterscapes, their journey in and through the cities, the story of their inclusion, integration, disintegration, exploitation, microclimate, culture, and ecological perspectives, and the time machine travel into the future. Without a further ado, I welcome Professor Savita Raje to present her work. Over to you, Savita ma'am.
Thank you very much for such an exhaustive introduction. I'm very happy to be with all of you talking about what I feel is the most important thing in urbanscapes. And I'm happy to see that your school is focusing on this very important aspect, which we say is the life-giving component of the city. But we all know that waterscapes are very important, but we have seen that we are taking waters for granted most of the time. Anyway, I will not start with a negative viewpoint, but I will start with beautiful waterscapes and romantic waterscapes and uh, um, scenic waterscapes, right? So we know that any city is located on a natural landscape, and that natural landscape has its own functions, its own components, and it's a living landscape on which the city is superimposed. So how the city fabric is superimposed into a natural landscape. It is very important to see how it has been done and how it has grown during the ages. One of the most important component of the natural landscape is the waterscapes, the existing waterscape. When we say waterscape, it does not mean the big, nice, beautiful water bodies only, but all the little drainage lines which come and add life, add water to this huge or small water body. So we are all always carried away with the huge and visual waterscape, but we are not carried away, or we do not even look into the little lines of water that come and feed these visual water bodies silently, quietly, but very effectively. So urban waterscape is not just the visual beautiful lakes and rivers. They are also the drainage lines, the natural drainage lines, or I would rather call it the veins and the arteries of the natural landscape, which bring the water to these, like the veins and the arteries bring the blood to the heart to pump it, and then only the heart remains healthy and fit. Therefore, these waterscapes that I am going to talk about is also covering these veins and arteries who are giving life, and the big water bodies in turn give life to us. Not just life, They give water vapor to the environment. They make they create a microclimatic condition. They make the climate more comfortable. They give us all of you in school, right from school, you know about the land water breezes and all. So the water bodies are doing a, a lot of are performing a lot of ecological services for us for free. If you give the same ecological services to a consultant, you just see how much they will charge. And these waterscapes, the water bodies, silently are doing a lot of ecological services for you. And the waterscapes that I am talking of is not just the big water bodies, the little arteries and veins, but they are also the underground water bodies, the underground, which we call it the aquifers. There are some immediate aquifers called the phreatic aquifer just after the rainfall, on which all our cropping is dependent. And then there are the aquifers at various different layers in the crust of the earth. So we have those are also waterscapes, but they are invisible. So we have two type of waterscapes mainly: the visible waterscapes and the invisible waterscapes. But the health of the visible waterscapes depends on the invisible waterscapes and vice versa, because the invisible waterscapes are recharged by the visible waterscapes. So it is a partnership which we need to, as designers, we need to understand, respect, and incorporate in our design and planning of the cities. You are placed in Mumbai, and you know what happened with the Mithi River. And I tell you, I have seen the drawings made by celebrity urban designers of the area having Mithi River, and the Mithi River is not even shown in the drawing. So the poor river was channelized, and a man tried to take all its space, and you know what happened with Mithi River. And the urban design proposals did not even show the river in the plan. So if you don't know it, how will you respond to it by design? For design, you have to know about it. You have to have knowledge. Then only you can respond to it. Otherwise, you will not respond to it. And I've seen in many studios, the people call it dirty nala, and they try to turn their back to it, but they do not realize this dirty nala is an important artery to a water body. And this artery, with your lifestyles, you have plugged it, clogged it, made the blood or the water dirty. It is your doing, not nature's doing. Okay? In Ahmedabad, there was a flood in, I think, 2000, I think 2001 or 2000. But it was not a flood in the river. Poor river was all dry. But the city was flooding. And why? Because all the inlet towards the river were blocked. And Ahmedabad being a flat land, the waterlogging happened, and because it was not able to drain off into the river. So we are failed. Look at Gurgaon. My God, you have big traffic jams because roads are filled with water and the rivers are without water. So what is this? Why are we behaving like this? We are all intelligent architects and planners. We have to understand the functions, the workings of the waterscapes. Then only we will be able to respond to it. So today I have a short presentation before you. It is not a very written type of presentation. I will be it is a more of thought provoking type of a talk, and I will be talking more than and showing you some pictures so that you you can picturize the scene about which I'm talking. So, what are urban waterscapes and what is urban? Urban is the focus of human activity, it is the concentration of human population. So, where human beings uh, are in great concentration, with future predictions, urban areas and urban population is going to increase many folds. There are many natural components on which the city is standing. There are there is vegetation, there is biodiversity, and there is the atmosphere, the air, and there is the water. And the waterscapes are of different typology, if I may say it, right from starting with the sea. Sea is also a waterscape. Then you have the rivers, then you have little rivulets, then you have nalas, which are actually rivulets, then you have the lakes, the ponds, you have the underground water, the groundwater, and then you have the wells, the step wells, or even tube wells. Okay. So and not just this, there are wetlands also. There are marshlands, waterlogged lands, which are not dirty, and generally people say this is Kichar area, you reclaim it and use it for paving or building or making a plaza. Most of the Bombay is on reclaimed land where it was almost marshy, many mangroves were destroyed, and then you reclaim the land and you built on it. Reclaiming the land intelligently is fine, but reclaiming the land by pushing away the water or by taking the position of the water. In Gwalior, you know, one of the major roads is inside a rivulet. Water makes its passage. So people say, the planner says, okay, I got a ready-made passage. So he pushed the water away and made the road in the channel carved out by water. In Bhopal also we have a big nala which was a rivulet, and it had a broad flow. So half of it has been pushed, and half of it has been converted into a road. And the poor nala flows only in half of it. And then to avoid flooding, huge retaining walls have been made. So we are doing all these sorts of things, taking the area which is off the water and reclaiming it, and we want more and more and more. But always remember, water is a very powerful source. Just imagine, it is, I think 74% of the earth is water. It is 75% of our own bodies is water. So water will always take its position like Mithi River did. They will show that this is my place. So we have to treat waters very scientifically, so that we respect the workings and the functions of nature. So with this introduction, I would like to go ahead with what I want to say. Starting, I have two cases which I will take, and through which I will try to bring home the point I want to project today. Or many people have projected it, but I'm also projecting. See, the city of Bhopal is the capital of Madhya Pradesh, you know, because I'm taking two case studies of Bhopal and Jabalpur. So first I will start with Bhopal. The city of Bhopal becomes unique because the foundation of the city happened with the making of a lake. So there were many rivulets. The Bhopal landscape is crisscrossed with many rivers, and in 1010 AD, a Parmar king, Bhoj, who was ruling from Dhar, there are many stories that he was suffering from a skin disease, and someone said that you bring together waters of 99 rivulets and collect it, and you take a bath in it, and you will be cured of your disease. So he found all these 99 little rivulets. This story is very interesting because what I'm saying is these little drainage lines, if you calculate, they become, in this story, the little rivulet lines were given due importance, that they are coming from a large catchment and they are collecting. So he diverted the route of one river, a major river, to flow between two big hills of Bhopal. There was the shortest distance between these two hills. He made an earthen dam. And when he made this dam, the waters of these 99 little channels, they collected there. And the result was a huge lake of 30 square kilometers. 30 square kilometers is a very large area. And this lake was a huge lake, and it is still existing. So a man-made lake of 1010 AD is still existing, and it was a major source of water supply. In the past, it still is. It is a source of water supply. So that was in 1010 AD, and the lake still lived up to, say, the story remains. Uh, This lake was not alone, it was a part of a hydraulic system which was going up to, say, 45 kilometers south of Bhopal to a place called Bhojpur. Where another lake was created by Raja Bhoj, which was called the Sagar Tal, which was a huge lake, about 300 square kilometers, we could say. And the dam which was responsible for this lake was broken by Hoshang Shah, and the lake was destroyed, but this lake was saved. It is still existing. So the story goes up to mid 18th century when there was this Afghani invader, Dost Muhammad Khan, who came to Bhopal. I won't go into all these stories, but he came to a place called Jagdishpur, which is 11 kilometers north of Bhopal. And this place has a river flowing by, which is called River Patra. And he conquered Jagdishpur, which was a Gond kingdom, and made it his capital and renamed it as Islamnagar. The slide that you see in front of you is of Islamnagar, where he built a fortress on the banks of River Patra, and he worked with method of bringing the water from the River Patra by Persian wheel on top of the walls of the fortress, and from where the water flowed with gravitational force to all the water canals. All the components of a Mughal garden were there, the chini khanas, the chadars, and the fountains that work with gravitational force. So you have water coming into buildings, going through buildings. In Mandu we have a wonderful example of aquatecture. That means a building with which is incorporating water, celebrating water, And this entire waters was brought by using different methods, aqueducts, um, Persian wheels, pulled up to a higher level, and then it flowed down. So you have this type of waterscapes also where water is pulled up to a height and then it flows down. So you have these man-made waterscapes of ponds, fountains, canals running in different levels and so on. So that is why I showed you this, because the story of the present city of Bhopal starts from Islamnagar, from because those Muhammad Khan later came to Bhopal and he made this the first walled city, the Islamic city of Bhopal. Not first means in the timeline of Bhopal, it was the first time the walls were made along the city. So this map shows the situation at that time where you can see so many little drainage lines feeding the river. The main river was the Kolans River, which was diverted to flow between the Idgah Hills and the Shamla Hills. And he made the dam here on. Can you see my cursor? At least you can see dam written
Yeah,
here.
yeah. No, we can
So,
see. We can see the person.
okay, very good.
Yeah.
So this was the resultant lake, which is a huge lake, 30 square kilometers. Is one. It is said that tal to Bhopal tal, baki sab talega. Because even if I go anywhere else, people celebrate their lakes. I say, oh, this looks like a gadda. It's a small hole. We have a lake because our lake is so huge. So this was the scene up from 1010 AD to mid 18th century. And you had one big lake, and this was the river Patra, which was going towards Islamnagar or Jagdishpur, along the banks of which Jagdishpur was located. So this plan has been recreated by me of 1010 AD by to mid 18th century. Then you see so many rivers crisscrossing through Bhopal. One of the rivers that is draining off Upper Lake is the Kalyasot River. Kalyasot was also from the time of Raja Bhoj. So this is the Kalyasot River. Then you have the Kerwa River. And those who are not from Bhopal are not familiar with this. But you see the landscape of Bhopal. It is with hills and rivers, so that if you dam between two hills, the result is a lake. So it becomes very easy to make lakes. So the lake making activity in Bhopal continued to this day. So that in Bhopal we have now more than 9 lakes within the city. So now we come to the present day city, the upper lake, and then in late 18th century, minister in those Muhammad Khan's reign, he made this Chota Talab, which is by damming on the river Patra. So upper lake, lower lake, Bada Talab, Chota Talab. These were the two lakes. Upper Lake, it is called Upper Lake because it is the waters of Upper Lake are about 20 meters above the level of Lower Lake. The level difference between the waters is about 20 meters. And then the leftover waters goes towards Islamnagar in the Patra River. So if I show you the plan of Bhopal during the princely state, I'm not talking of other aspects of planning of Bhopal, I'm just talking of the water bodies. So you have water body 1, Upper Lake, water body 2 is Lower Lake. You can see the wall city which was made during Raja Bhoj's time, and then you have a sister wall city, and then you see these 3 water bodies here. These are the most interesting urban conglomeration that you see in the world. It is a set of three cascading lakes. The upper lake gets filled up, overflows into lower lake, overflows into third lake, and then the water irrigates the huge mausoleum garden over here. And uh, this upper lake in this three set, or I will take the actual name, the Motia Talab, is also the wazoo tank for the huge Tajul Masjid, which is the biggest masjid in Asia. That is why it is called Masjid. Masjidon ki masjid is called Masajid. So we have the huge Tajul Masajid here where about 75,000 people can offer namaz within the boundaries of Tajul Masajid at the same time. Now, offering namaz needs some space because you have to bend down, and so each person needs a space. So you can imagine how huge the boundary, the area of Tajul Masajid would be. And then it is surrounded by the palaces. The middle part is taken by the summer palace of the Begum of Bhopal, and then the upper part is the living quarters of the Begum of Bhopal. So the lake making activity from 1010 AD to up to independence continued, and the result were the five lakes: one, two, three, four, five. Five lakes were constructed before independence. And whereas this lake was the main water supply lake and offered sports activity and lot of and also was defensive because lake waters are deepest here, was defensive for this wood because you don't have any wall here. The lake itself served as a defense. And you have this lower lake which was also for scenic reasons because the old palace of the Gond queen is located here, and there were ghats along the river, earlier river, and this and all the cantonment area of the British and all were located. So these two lakes were more scenic, but these three lakes were romanticizing the water. It was the ultimate waterscape. And let us see today. The upper lake. I'm showing you the city fabric today. So we see this the three cascading lakes. Earlier, I had shown you in the original map that these are all squarish, rectangular squarish lakes. So now today the middle lake has been encroached upon, and it had almost disappeared, and there was a proposal to make a colony here. So this lake would not have been there, but with public outcry we were able to save a little bit. But रातों रात यहाँ पे building का मलबा भर के people were reclaiming it. So most of it is gone, but still a little bit is left. And you can still see the waters of this lake overflowing under the road to this. There is a little gap in the urban fabric here. So you see a very romanticized application of lake making, where this is at the highest level, then middle level, lowest level, and this is at the lowest. The gardens are there, which have also been encroached upon. So today, these lakes are in a very pitiable state because they have been encroached upon, their life-giving drainage lines have been blocked, and they are dependent on the rains that fill it up. And of course, they have the underground water channels also feeding it. But the waters to be in good health if your heart, you want it to be in good health. You want all the veins and arteries to be open and nicely functioning. Here, the veins and arteries are getting blocked, so the water is suffering. This is one of the archival pictures of the upper lake, the Bada Talab, and the palatial complexes around it. This was a huge palatial complex and a huge plaza at the upper level over here, which was the first palace of the palace of the first Begum of Bhopal. And the palace design itself, it exploited the river view to the maximum. Like all these little rooms, because this is inspired by the earlier Gond architecture. It is not very monumental in scale, and you have these rooms with paintings inside, and people, the western furniture had not come in as yet, and people were, the queen was also sitting on the floor, gadi or गादियों के साथ जो traditional way है sitting का, so you find everything in a different scale, and it was using the waterscape to the maximum so that you can get a nice view of the waterscape. Not just view, you were getting a nice breeze from there. If you see this picture closely, you have a gateway which is called Babe Sikandari. Okay, and gateway leads to a huge court which is surrounded by palaces of the royal, or we can call it the royal quadrant. And air from here, this was from towards south, so we have southwestern air. So air was coming from here, going through the gateway and becoming cool from the water, and then feeding the palaces through the fenestrations. So it was a very well worked out system. We have actually conducted surveys measuring temperatures, relative humidity along this area, and we have actually found out the difference in microclimate, which is due to the airflows specifically, airflows coming from the lake. So we have proved it that yes, it was done quite scientifically, and the airflows were managed to flow in a certain direction through vestibules so that they became cooler, and then it was making the city climate very comfortable. You in Bhopal, even in winters, you don't call it sardi, you call it gulabi sardi. That means the cold is just enough to make your cheeks pink. Sorry, you feel nice and good, and your cheeks become pink, and the cold is just that much, not more, not to chill your bones. So with all that romanticization of water bodies, the use of water bodies for creating microclimatic conditions, the use of water bodies for having thermal comfort, all that is lost when the water starts coming from the tap. So many times the first question I ask my class is, do you know where do you get your water to drink? So they say from the cooler or from the tap, or intelligent hoega bolega from the municipal corporation. Then I say, from where is municipal corporation getting its water? So they say then they are at a loss from where. So many people don't know from where the water is coming which they are drinking. So there is a disconnect between the water body and you. You think water body is Even in master plan of Bhopal, it is written there. It is written that the plan of planning of Bhopal is uh, is not continuous because it is disrupted by many hills and lakes. So that is the actual language. So water is being looked as a disruption in the continuation of the urban fabric. It is not being looked as an opportunity. Of course, it was treated as an opportunity, but the general way of how we look at the water body is that uski wajah se Bhopal does not have a continuous urban fabric. You don't feel how big Bhopal is because every few kilometers you get either a hill or a lake. So Bhopal becomes a combination of small sectors. So you don't feel the largeness of Bhopal, which is quite a large city now. This disconnection of the water body as a source of drinking water has resulted in people turning their back towards the water body. So I have this image where people actually have their back towards the water body, and you see the water body is strewn with garbage. You know, when I got married, my husband is from Bombay. So we went to Juhu Beach and I was enjoying the waves over there. And my husband, he's also an architect, he said, "Oh, so you are enjoying the sewage of Bombay." I said, "What? Sewage of Bombay?" He said, "Just see." And he showed me all the manholes which were opening into the sea. And the sea is very clever. It took all the sewage, but it brought it back. And since then, I've never enjoyed the waves in Juhu because I know it is bringing back the sewage of Bombay. So we are not being very intelligent the way we use our water bodies. So what happens to avoid people throwing garbage? This grill is just this much now. Now it has become double the height. It will become more because people tend to throw if they eat a nice samosa, kachori, bun maska, they will throw the paper here. They have water, they will throw the bottle here. You see it, it is done. If there is a temple, they will bring agarbattis in polythene. Agarbatti rake, they will throw the polythene. I have seen it in so many places. People are very insensitive towards the water bodies. So, what I'm trying to bring home, the point is, water body is not just a receptacle of water. It is having its aquatic life. There is an aquatic life which keeps the water healthy, which keeps the water clean. If the fish is moving in the water, it cleanses the water body, it oxygenates the water, and the water remains clean and healthy. So all these aquatic life need to remain there. If you put a lot of sewage, till recently, all the sewage of Bhopal was coming into these lakes. Still, at many points, it is coming. If sewage comes into the water, it brings with it nitrogenous compounds. And nitrogenous compounds make uh, eutrophiate the waters. Eutrophication of waters mean the plants will start growing. You see the plants growing here? These are aquatic plants which are weeds and which grow in the water if there is more of nitrogen. If plants grow over the surface of the water, the lower volumes of water stop getting their oxygen and their sunlight, and the waters become stagnant, unhealthy because the fish cannot live. It will die. In Ahmedabad, there is a lake called Kankaria Lake. There, one fine day, thousands of fish just jumped out of the water and fell on the banks dead. Thousands of them. So people were not worried about the fish. They were worried कि ये fish stink का हम क्या करें? because they would start stinking all the dead fish. So why this happened? It is another story related with urban design. I will not talk about it today because otherwise it will become 8 p.m. So, the moral of the story is that fish is designed to breathe dissolved air. It cannot breathe oxygen right from the air like we do. It breathes oxygen, but it is designed to breathe dissolved oxygen. If you don't let oxygen be there in the water, it will die. Since childhood, you are remembering that poem. मछली जल की रानी है बाहर निकालो मर जाओगी but your activities are बाहर निकालोगे your activities are forcing it to come out and die, right? So it is very important that we understand what is our source of drinking water and try to keep it clean and treat it and respond to it in our designs as well. Otherwise, it is similar to having your pot of water in the kitchen or the bottle of water in the fridge and cleaning your house and putting all the garbage in that bottle. You are doing, but we are doing that actually. So again, I come back to the lakes of Shahjahanabad, the three cascading lakes. This is the plan of the lakes in 1919 when it was in its original beautiful shape. This was the set of three cascading lakes was constructed in around late 19th century. So you see the Tajul Masajid, Benazir Palace, Taj Mahal, the palatial complexes. There is another Noor Mahal over here which is destroyed now. So we have Motiatala, which was the wazoo tank for the Tajul Masajid. Benazir Palace was the summer palace, and then Begum used to participate in the namaz sitting here only. So, but Tajul Masajid of Bhopal is a different type of masajid because it has separate section for the women to offer namaz. Most people believe that women are not allowed in the masjid to offer namaz. But no, here in Bhopal, they have separate chambers to offer namaz. And Taj Mahal is a huge palatial complex of the third Begum of Bhopal. And then we have the mausoleum, Royal Mausoleum Garden and Common Man's Mausoleum Garden here, which is crisscrossed with underground water lines, and there are about 4 step wells over here, beautiful step wells. I will show you that. So this was an entire composition. It was of course separated by a ridge from the upper lake, lower lake, which is towards the south. This was another set of lakes, and uh, it was celebration of water and the landscape, and all man-made. This is also done by man, and the dirting is also done by the man. So in this drawing, I show you the little rivulets, the veins and the arteries which were bringing the water to the upper lake, to the Motia Talab. Okay, you see, can you see these blue lines? Okay, they were feeding this upper lake, which when get filled, it was feeding the middle lake, which when was filled was feeding the third lake. And then the entire water was used to irrigate and recharge the step wells. So you see in the path of the drainage channel, you don't find any buildings over here. Can you see? You don't find any buildings over here. So the path was free of any obstruction. So water was flowing in here comfortably. And the entire landscape was working very nicely. This is a sketch made by me to recreate that entire scene. the Motia Talab, the middle lake, the third lake, and the gardens and the palatial complex all around. It is still beautiful, and these were and water would overflow over these roads. This was a actual cascading lakes. It was not a tunneled fall. It was a cascade. Entire width was cascading. Just imagine the grandeur of the place. So in one of the old newspapers, the lakes were still like this, I think up to 1960s. So you can still see the water here in the Motia Talab, the middle lake and the third lake. And the edge is having only trees. And it was such a grand scene. I can imagine it as a grand scene, though I've never seen it like that. The present day, you find um, so many encroachments everywhere. If you compare it with the other plan, you will see what are the encroachments. In the Google Earth, I've taken this, and of course, this is with a different reference. This is the four square historic city, the upper lake, and the three cascading lakes. And you will see this red band. So, this is a row of buildings, mostly hospitals, that has come up between the Motia Talab and the Middle Lake. Okay, so just imagine this area is covered with multi-story buildings. Just imagine. This area is covered by multi-story buildings. This area is covered by multi-story buildings. So spoiling the entire composition, and the built up areas have come up all around where the water flow was uh, flowing unhindered. So you find building blocks coming here, building blocks coming here, building blocks coming here, everywhere. It is covered with building, and no heed was given to these veins and arteries. And therefore, we are having lesser waters here. So Bhopal, of course, it is not linked to these lakes, but Bhopal, which was made with incorporating water in its design, is suffering from water shortage. We supply only for 1 hour in a day, and we had to get into this costly project of importing water from river Narmada, which flows at about 500 meter below the altitude of Bhopal. So not 500, I would say maybe 480. Right, but it is an extensive project of bringing waters from a river that is flowing at a lower level and to an altitude of Bhopal, which is 520 meters. It is an expensive project. The the veins and arteries are getting blocked. Before independence, wherever these even roads or any building was to come, they would make an aqueduct so that the water would flow and building can be constructed without hindering the water flow. But now when people are building at many places where redevelopment is happening, when they dig, they come across this aqueduct. So they silently and quickly fill it up, getting scared that their property will get into question. So all these water lines are now grossly disrupted. So we have lesser waters here. See? So this is a photograph from a higher level. You see the Tajul Masajid minarets, you see the Motia Talab, and the red square that you see is the multi-story buildings that is constructed between the first lake and the middle lake, disrupting the water flow. And not just this building, many buildings along the way are disrupting it. Am I taking too much of time? Please tell me if I'm doing that. This is the summer palace of the queen, and it has been designed to take the waters, the cool airs flowing from the top of these cascading lakes, and then it takes the air inside the summer palace. And the summer palace has been designed with fountains, with canals, and in such a way that it becomes really cool. You feel as if you have the best of air conditioners installed there. This is just some archival images to show you the grandeur of the place in the past. The entry of the Taj Mahal and how the Taj Mahal interacted with the lake, the summer palace of the queen, how the breeze would come over the waters and enter the palace. As I said earlier, the mausoleum garden has about 4 stepwells, and just imagine there is so much of water in this area that this stepwell is about 3 storied high, and the water. I took this picture during the monsoon. Water had come up to the second floor level. There is so much of water there. This is the stepwells, and these are actually the panels of the exhibitions we did at many places. So the stepwell is there, and in the picture you had seen the water coming up to the second floor. This is the third floor. You approach from the garden, mausoleum garden, and you come to the third floor. Then it goes 3 floors down. It's a beautiful stepwell, and there are 3 of them over here, 4 of them. This is a picture from the media. Like, it is not, as I said, the lake making activity continued after independence also. So on the south of the Bada Talab or Upper Lake, there is this Kalyasot River, which is forming a boundary to our campus, Manit campus also. And an earthen dam was made on this Kalyasot River, and the resultant is again a very beautiful water body, a very beautiful lake, which is a recent addition into the lake making history of Bhopal. So, not taking any more time about Bhopal, though there is a lot to say about Bhopal. I have talked of the main visual lakes only. I have not talked of the wetlands, because the lakes, the shallow part of the lake is a wetland which attracts a lot of biodiversity. There are crocodiles here. There are so many birds which the Sarus crane is here. The many migratory birds come here. So it hosts a lot of biodiversity. The wetlands and the vegetation as well. It's the wetlands, the waterlogged areas, the marshlands are very important for the ecological function. The IFM, Indian Institute of Forest Management, one of the professors had done a study on the ecological services performed by a single tree, and she worked out how much money would one spend if one has to get the ecological services done by any human agency other than the tree. But the tree is doing it for free. So a lot of ecological services. Another city I want to talk about the waterscapes is a very different city from Bhopal. That is Jabalpur, that is towards the east. Jabalpur lies on the banks of river Narmada. Narmada river is, if I have time some other time, I would like to speak on river Narmada because it is a very interesting and very powerful river because it is flowing in a continuous fault line. That is why there is a lot of debate about dams on Narmada because the river is a fault line actually. Anyway, you are not supposed to know about the geological workings, so I'm not going to talk about it. But river Narmada is a huge river. It is a groundwater fed river, and this river is feeding most of Rajasthan and Gujarat also. In Ahmedabad, you have river Sabarmati, but river Sabarmati does not have the water of Sabarmati. It has the waters of river Narmada. The urban design has happened in such a way कि नर्मदा साबरमती में उसका पानी ही नहीं मिलता. So you have Narmada river filling up the Sabarmati river. So it's a huge river, groundwater fed river, which is arising from the Michael Hills a little ahead of Jabalpur. And Jabalpur is a city settled on the banks of river Narmada. And Jabalpur is a city which is, again, I have given you a plan which shows all these little drainage lines. And of course, because I'm very interested in the layered study of landscape, how the natural topography overlaps the underground systems and how the city overlaps the natural topography and the underground systems. Jabalpur is supposed, it was by Vinoba Bhave, it was called the Sanskar Dhani, that it is the cultural capital of India, like it is a seat of learning and the seat of many sadhu sannyasis over there. So Jabalpur had about 52 lakes. Just imagine 52 lakes, out of which only 30 or less than 30 remain. In there, many colonies which are built on the lake bed get their name. So I was looking for a lake from the old plan of Jabalpur, and I went to the town planning office and I asked, where is this lake? So that town planner said, oh, we are sitting on that lake. So that town planning office itself was built on the bed of the lake. So there were 52 beautiful lakes, but very few are left. Many lakes have been cut into half. A huge stadium has been made in one of the lakes. So anyway, whatever is left, there is a beautiful lake called Supatar in Jabalpur, which is supposed to be a natural lake, and it is called Supatal because it resembles the shape of a supa. Supa, you know, the jute thing, the bamboo thing that you use for billowing the husk out of wheat. So it is that supa. So it resembles that supa. This image is of that supatar. It is surrounded by conical rocky hills, which is a beautiful landscape. The Google Earth image, you can see the supatar. It resembles the shape of a supa. That is why it gets its name. And there are surrounding conical hills which give a very scenic setting to this lake. Now this is covered by unauthorized settlements all over. This is a mapping of the unauthorized settlements on Supata, and you will find it is surrounding it all over. People are washing their clothes. it is the economically weaker section, so they wash their clothes in the lake, causing eutrophication. The lake is facing a lot of stress because of human activities. Sewage is also entering there. Sewage treatment तो बहुत बड़ी बात होगी, because everything is coming into this lake. So it is facing a lot of stress. The biodiversity still there is some, but it is fast disappearing from here. Then in the urban fabric of Jabalpur, Supatar is still not so densely covered. You still have open spaces and greenery all around, and the hilltops are not covered as yet. But Hanuman Tal is another man-made lake, but it is a groundwater-fed lake inside Jabalpur. It is in one of the densest areas of Jabalpur, and it is believed when Lord Hanuman came here, he placed his foot here and it became a lake. So it has that religious significance. It is a very deep lake, and it is a groundwater fed lake, and it has a dense urban growth around it, with a historic, very popular Jain temple, and there is a mixed population here, so it becomes a very sensitive area also. So there is a police thana and the police making patrols always, because it has become a very sensitive area because of mixed population, mixed religions, and very dense. And this lake is also suffering from, though they have done quite a lot of work in securing its edges. The edges are vegetated and quite well done, but still it is not free from the sewage and the eutrophication. It is again under a lot of stress, but still it people like it. Of course, the smells are making people turn their back towards the Hanumantal, but still it is a much sought after lake. You can see a aerial view of Hanumantal. You just see the dense urban fabric around it, but you can see the green edges. They have attempted to make the edges vegetated, which is a good thing that they have done. But the waters are all green, they are eutrophicated with the algae growing there, and the waters are stagnant. But it is a groundwater, so it still keeps its quality. We had mapped all the type of vegetation all around. We have mapped the houses all around, what are the type of houses. And of course, they are very historic. It is a historic fabric. And some work has been done on the banks, on the edges of these lakes. And this work is mostly paving it, and because in rains it overflows, so how to deal with the flood plain. So they have uh, done some work to drain off the flooding waters and all that, but it is not enough. You have to release the arteries and the veins of the water body to actually make it healthy. So we have traced the arteries and the veins of this water body, and if it can be revived, it is possible to revive them. Therefore, this lake will have a long life. I would like to end my talk. Thank you.
Um, Thank you,
Thank you,
Rajiv.
Thank you.
It was a mesmerizing and very thought-provoking session. I'm sure many would agree that the presentation was free to our eyes, and your narrative really helped us see and understand the significant connection between waterways, natural courses, and other natural resources that was explained through the examples of two prominent cities. It is indeed the need of hour to preserve, conserve, and pass on this traditional wisdom of respecting nature to the future generations. I'm sure the participants will have many questions and observations. However, before we commence with that, we would like to invite our principal, Professor Alka Tawri ma'am, to share her views. Alka ma'am, over to you.
What a wonderful journey of going through Bhopal and uh, Jabalpur. Uh, I don't know whether our students understand the fault line, whether they know that a major river flowing through fault line, these are two plates of India, major geographical plates. Through the gap of those plates, the river Narmada flows. And because of that, like Savita ma'am told you, that that's why so much of discussion happened about those big dams that we have built on Narmada. One of the dam is in MP and the bigger dam is in Gujarat towards the end of the journey for Narmada. Fault line are the places where most of the friction between the plates happen, and that's why earthquakes come. So, Savita Didi, to add to your this thing, my father was posted at the Narmada Valley division.
Acha.
He was
Oh,
responsible for the canals of Narmada Sarovar. So,
acha, wow.
once we had gone to, now these are the discussions which I think our students should enjoy.
Yeah.
Once we had gone to Omkareshwar, and there was
Huh.
an old lady sitting. That time, Omkareshwar temple was a different temple. It was not so, I don't know, now I don't like that temple because they built such huge steps which are kind of
Yeah.
look vertical. So
Yes.
initially, when we used to go, we could, walk on the bridge and we could go to Omkareshwar. Now, for
Yeah.
students, Omkareshwar is a place where in between Narmada, there is an island which is in the shape of Om.
Yeah.
And that's where one of the Jyotirling is built. So the Jyotirling is Mamaleshwar. And so once Didi, when we had gone to Omkareshwar, and my papa was in charge of building the dam and canal. So there was this old lady who was sitting there, and she asked, she saw these officers, talking about this and that, and they were looking at Narada. She said, "क्या कर रहे हो आप लोग?" तो उन्होंने बोला कि कुछ नहीं अम्मा, इधर में डैम बनाने वाले हैं, बांध बनाएंगे.
Huh.
So she had said at that time. And these are the, I don't like to call Hinduism a lot of, mythological things. I believe that there was wisdom involved. So she
Yes.
said, नर्मदा इज नर्मदा कुंवारी नदी है, इसको कोई
Huh.
बांध नहीं सकता.
Exactly. Very well
In her,
said.
yeah, in her language she had said कि this is कुंवारी, इसको कोई
Oh,
बांध नहीं सकता. And
yes.
this is such a, I mean, that sentence has stayed with me for last, I think, 35, 40 years or so. That calling a river a virgin river, the river
Yes.
which cannot be, held back by men. Um, but then we built the dam and we built the
Yeah.
thing, and we don't know what will happen in the
Yeah.
future. Very
If it
recently, we
happens,
saw what
it will
happened.
be. Yeah.
Yeah, we saw what happened in because of
Yes.
Tehri Dam in
Yeah.
Uttarakhand. Yeah, we
Yeah.
saw that. So these are the things which happen when we kind of start playing with nature, and this is where one has to learn that respecting the existing contours of the site,
Yes.
respecting the water channels,
Yes.
respecting the land, and not turning your back on rivers and water
Yes.
bodies. I mean, such wonderful discussion we can have on this.
Yeah.
Mainly because I am also emotionally connected to Bhopal. Most of my schooling and my college education
Yeah.
happened there, and I know this place inside out.
Yeah.
Um, uh, Someday, probably, we should start working with many for some some studies into some combined studies if
Yeah.
possible. Probably we should
Yes.
think about doing a combined study or something.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, let's see if we can do
At
something.
least the young generation should have this germ in their mind that
Yeah,
yes, we
yeah,
have to respect the water. See, water flows, water has to be respected. We have seen in Uttarakhand, we have seen in so many places.
yeah.
It has,
So,
it will take its place somehow. Someday it is going to take its place.
and that's what sometimes, I do believe that nature is the strongest thing in the world.
Yeah,
You take water from here, like you were saying now, these reclaimed land. You take land from sea, and sea reclaims the land back somewhere else. So the
yeah,
wave patterns, start splashing the mayor's bungalow, or
yeah,
start, filling in the mayor's bungalow. So
yeah,
wave patterns are another thing which impact urban settlements. And
yes.
yeah, today's your talk was a wonderful talk on understanding the urban waterscapes and how cities were built and how we have destroyed. The current generation, last I think 40-45 years of development has really destroyed the basic natural fabric of all the cities. And the way we are building, we are going to destroy uh, the
No,
planet.
we have to, instead of burdening or damming the rivers, we have to dam our greed. We have to
Yes.
burden our greed for more and more of land.
Yeah. I want to call Nagrat sir. I think sir is here. Sir, please, I would like your inputs on the talk today. And sir knows Savita Didi. So, sir, she is my senior. Um, Pooja, Umesh, sir is
Hello,
there.
sir.
Hello.
Sir, hai na?
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, it's here.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you, Savita, for a wonderful presentation.
You. I
I
hope.
remember meeting you, I think, a long, long time back when I
Yes.
visited SPA. I think twice I visited SPA and I met you those times over there. So it's very nice to hear you again after so many years
Thank
with a
you.
wonderful presentation. Water is definitely one of the priority areas and something which is also very close to my heart. For a long time, I had been trying to get our college also to do a project on cleaning up the nala which is running along our college. You know,
Acha.
so I think this is really a story of every city.
Yeah.
In Bhopal is a beautiful city, and I remember the water being the central feature of the place.
Yeah.
And even Anand Raje used water very nicely in his project,
Yes.
forest management. So it's really sad that in almost every city, water bodies, lakes, and all are being closed. In Chembur itself, there was Teen Talao over there, the what is the Acres Club now, and only
Oh.
one Talao remains over there. Other two have
Oh.
been filled up. In also the Talao was filled up, and there was an effort by the local population to reclaim the Talao. So
Oh.
actually, Mumbai was full of water bodies.
Yes.
And in fact, every town, every city, every settlement is because water is the source of all livelihood. And in fact, so many places are called by by water, like in Maharashtra, Amal Nair and Sangam Nair, you know,
Yeah.
and Ban Ganga and so many. So places are named by the water. Talegaon. So all over the place, there are places which are named, identified by the water body that they are in. And as you mentioned now, uh, people, they get water from hundreds of kilometers away. It's very silly. Even in Mumbai, we're getting water from 400 kilometers away.
Yeah,
And we
it's
have
very
enough rain
simple.
and we have enough water bodies, but we have no system by which we can use our own water. You don't have to and make the whole water supply more decentralized
Yeah,
rather than spending so much money,
yeah,
getting it from 400 kilometers away.
yeah,
So I think this is some big policy shift which is required.
yeah.
And as you also mentioned, which is about the Narmada. I mean, imagine Narmada being diverted so much as to give water to the Sabarmati.
Yeah,
It is
yeah,
it is
that's,
such a funny thing to do.
yeah,
And so rather than regenerating all our water bodies, we are closing all the water channels
yes,
and then trying to get water in an artificial kind of way.
yeah.
So it's very nice that Savita, you could really elaborate so much on all these important things.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful seeing your presentation. I've been to both the cities. I've been to Jabalpur also, but
Achha, achha.
so I haven't seen these talabs in Jabalpur.
You
But
visit, they are beautiful talabs.
hmm. So thank you very much. Very interesting and very focused presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for your words. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Actually, sir was busy. He said, I will come and I will leave. But I think he, he got hooked and he stayed all the time.
That's nice.
It was a wonderful presentation. Nice. We really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mridmay, back to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, welcome, ma'am, for your thoughts. We would now begin with our question and answer session. I'll read the first question. It's from our student, Isha. She's mentioning, thank you for such a lovely presentation. The romance between water and land or built is being affected due to so many factors that you mentioned. We are aware of that we do, and hence the deterioration continues. So, how do we go about making these habitual changes?
Good. Actually, some things can be done by initiating lifestyle changes only. Like, otherwise, you have to wait for the big measures to be done. But you can start with small things, okay? Because small things add up to a big thing. So if we wait for the government to bring a proposal, and most of the government proposals are very high cost proposals. We don't need such high cost proposals. What we need are simple down to earth measures. So some things can be achieved by lifestyle changes itself. Like we decide that if our colonies are abutting the waterways, we can at least install a STP, sewage treatment plant. What is the harm in that? We can uh, we can have a lifestyle change by not throwing the garbage into the water, because garbage really destroys the aquatic life. Just if you eat one kurkure and put the kurkure packet in the lake, just imagine it is going to kill 25 fish, beautiful fish, which you like to have in your aquarium. So you don't want to murder 25 fish with a kurkure packet, of course. So little lifestyle changes can bring about a lot of change. Okay. Then, of course, the edges of water body are very, very important. Most people try to pave the edges. When you pave the edges, you kill the arteries and the veins of the water body. Edges are, it is not a vessel. Water body is not a vessel. It is like a heart. Just imagine water body like a heart, which, or if you block the arteries and the veins, it will have a heart attack. It will die. Okay, so don't do that. So don't, we should have a vegetated edge of the water body. I always ask my students, do you know where the fish lays its egg? So they don't know where the fish, do you know where the fish lays its eggs? People don't know. Fish lays its eggs, most of the fish lay their egg on the soft edges, vegetated edge of the, and they are not like human parents ki bachcho ke piche pade rahe. They just lay their eggs and go off. So eggs have to survive on their own. So they have to be nice, protected, soft edge so that they can hatch and the fish hatches and goes into the water. It is in the wetland, but then it goes into the water. So if you do not have vegetated edge, fish पैदा ही नहीं हो पाएगी. So you as students, you try to educate the elders that don't make the edge of the water body as a built-up edge. Many times you find people making cycle tracks, walkways around the edge of the water. And what is that walkway? It is a concretized edge. So it will damage the aquatic life. So edges, the proper design of the edges, the frog will live on the edge. It is an amphibian. Okay, so there are many animals who will live on the edge. So edge, vegetated edge, and your lifestyle changes can bring about a lot of change in the quality of water.
Thank you, ma'am. There is one more question from Professor Sunanda. Are there any policies in place to avoid filling of lakes and converting into the construction land?
Actually, see, there are some lakes which are under protection, okay? But you know, like in Bhopal, the 3 cascading lakes I was talking of, they are not under protection. So it depends on the people. Many lakes are not under protection. Under protection means they should come under some, like the Bada Talab of Bhopal is in the Ramsar site. So it is having some protection mechanism. Okay, so either it should come under some big label, then it can be protected. Otherwise, it is dependent on the master plan of the city, how they respond to the lakes. See, Jabalpur had 52 lakes. Now they are less than 30. And wo bhi 30 highly degraded. So when the lake bed dries up, it catches the attention of the developers and they want to take up. कि अब इसमें पानी नहीं आ रहा, dry हो गई तो they take up. So there are policies, but only to some water bodies, not every water body. But what we are saying is each and every little water body is part of a whole. It is a complete system. So what we call nala, dirty nala, usko pave kar do, underground kar do, it is not a solution. It is accentuating the problems. You have, so sadly there are not much policies. Like in Bhopal, the master plan says you cannot build within 30 meters from the edge of the nala. But there is no implementation of this. So who is going to check? Colonies come up and they stay there, right? Like it happened with Mithi River. So there are policies, but with celebrated water bodies, I can say, not for little poor, nondescript water bodies. So master plans have to respond to that. Or drainage lines ko to bhool hi jao, nobody gives any attention. Like in Manit also, we have one of the directors had built a boundary wall on the edge of the hill. So the rain, he had built unknowingly on a drainage line. So it got filled with water, and this 25-meter long wall just fell on the slope, killing 3 people who had built their huts along the wall, and the water pushed the wall down, and it created a landslide. So water has a lot of force. So this little drainage line was not visible water body. So the who was developing it did not respond to it. So it caused accident, took lives of the people, and caused economic loss also. So unless we mark it on the plan, you are not going to respond to it. If the little drainage lines are not marked on the plan, people will not respond to it. So actual documentation of these lines is very important.
Thank you, ma'am. Next question is from one of our students, Sanskar. He's saying, by the cause of building structures around the water bodies, it chokes the internal water channels, which naturally fills lake by groundwaters. Is there any method to avoid that, or else how to save it?
Actually, in a sensitive design, we can still build with water having its way, and we can have a building also. Only you have to make provision for that water. Okay, you can make aqueducts, you can make passage of that water temporary for some distance. It can go underground also. It should not be disrupted. It can be enclosed as an aqueduct, but it should not be disrupted. It can be diverted a little bit, but you have to respond to it, and response can happen only when you know the line कि यहाँ पे clogging हो जाएगा if I build there. So you build your boundary wall, it clogs the line. Simple boundary wall clogs many lines. So you should know this pattern of natural drainage on the land, and the building design should respond to it. All of you have read about the House of Falling Water by Frank Lloyd Wright. So he has built on top of a flowing water. But the building is not stopping the flow. It is celebrating the flow. You get my point? So you can build on the water, but your design has to give provision for the flow. Disruption is bad. So you can build on the edge of the water body, but in a conscious way, in a sensitive way.
Next question is from student Tirtha. Ma'am, I would like to know what is the response of people living along these lakes? Are there any festivals or bazaars that enhance these water bodies? Are they deteriorating or working towards establishing its identity?
Actually, the response of the people around this lake is mostly for the view, because you have Lakeview Apartments, Lakeview Hotel, Lakeview Ashok. So all are exploiting the view. And then it becomes a favorite spot for the evenings. People go out, stand near the water edge and enjoy. But they are only looking at it as a source of entertainment, a source of view. They are not looking at it as responsible citizens. When they go out on Sunday evening, just see the amount of garbage. Somehow I am getting into this kurkure packet. Somehow those packets, the chips packets, they are thrown into the lake. Okay. Recently in Upper Lake, we have a national park on one of the sides of the lake. So they have put this sound and light show of the lake, in which they show the story of Bhopal. So this sound and light show. So we made an objection, but they said, no, we are not disrupting. We are not building any solid thing on the edge. But the thing is, the noise, the vibration that is created during night time. Nighttime is the time of rest of most birds. Only owl will and bat will be comfortable during night, but they don't like the sound. Okay, and when you have this loud sound which is to reach to the people sitting in the amphitheater, it disturbs the birds who are at rest. They will get up at 4 a.m. in the morning. So after some time they will move away from there. So it is a loss of biodiversity. So people are responding to the lake, they love the lake, they say I love lake, I love Bhopal, but they are not doing anything for it. It is like you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend, you love her or him, but you do not do anything for her. So after some time you will lose her or him. Because you have to do something. You get my point. So it is only exploitation, not doing anything for its betterment. So Lakeview view, you also have Sea View and Sea View Hotel. So look at the view only, but then धीरे से नीचे से garbage भी डाल देते हैं अंदर. Okay. So you as young students have big responsibility on your shoulders.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was a very nice, it was a very interesting approach and thought to the question that was asked. I'll take the next question. It's from Professor Umesh. What is your comment on the project of linking rivers?
Linking rivers. Oh, see, one of the linking river project is in Narmada Sabarmati. Why Sabarmati cannot have its own waters? Why one should borrow? Okay, you borrowing in our traditional this thing we always consider borrowing as something bad. So why and yes, linking rivers is also having this philosophy of preventing flood. जहाँ पे flood हुई, water can be diverted to other places. But see, flooding is a natural process. Flooding of the river is a natural, like high tide and low tide is a natural process. वो उतने process में बहुत ecological services कर देता है. So flooding is important. Many agriculture is dependent on flooding. So let flooding happen. Flooding does not happen to damage you, the human beings. You are encroaching upon the floodplains. That is why you are getting damaged. तो आप किसी और की जगह पे बैठ गए तो वो तो आपको उठाएगा ही ना, उठो यहाँ से, कि वो आपको बोलेगा आइए आइए हमारे घर में और 2 रूम और ले लीजिए. They are not going to say that. So you must understand that flooding is normal. It is a natural process. It does a lot of work by flooding. I will not get into what flooding does, but it is like earthquake is a natural process. Earthquake is not to damage you. You are designing buildings which are not earthquake resistant, so you are damaged. Japan में भी earthquake होता है. Little students, they just sit under their table, थोड़ा shake होता है, and then they come up और वापस class attend करते हैं. ये थोड़ी कि earthquake हुआ, सारे लोग रोते रोते घूम रहे हैं, मेरा damage हो गया. You are not designing, your designs are not responding to natural processes. That is the problem. Tsunami आया, it is a natural process. अंडमान में भी tsunami आया, वहाँ के tribals थोड़ा इधर उधर हुए और then that's it. It did not damage anything. Okay, so some things are part of natural processes. Like you have hiccups, you have your natural body systems. In the same way, nature also has its natural. So to avoid flooding, if you have linking river project, then it is unnatural approach. It is not going to be taken by nature very nicely. And don't forget, rivers are flowing at different altitudes. अभी हम नर्मदा से भोपाल पानी ले आए, it was more of political than natural thing. एक नेता ने बोल दिया हम नर्मदा से पानी लाएंगे, तो it became a political district. नर्मदा से पानी, नर्मदा is flowing at a low altitude. You are bringing it to a higher altitude, wasting so much of energy. So instead अपना ही जो है उसको ठीक से समेट लेते, that would have been a better. And people have done it in the world. There is a very nice example of Tucson in Phoenix where they have done the similar thing. Okay, so linking of rivers, according to me, is unnatural. Where rivers want to be linked, they have their own tributary system and they have their own linkages, dependent on the topography. Otherwise, it is going to be very damaging. And you must not try to do something to avoid man-made flooding. Most flooding today is man-made. You try to correct that first.
True, ma'am. Very like it's very important to have nature responsive design. Like it's an responsibility.
Flood तो natural है, वो होगी ही. And it is doing a lot of work by flooding. Soils का पूरा balancing हो जाता है. Water goes into different channels. It has its natural systems, which need to be understood. Flooding is not to damage human beings.
Very true, ma'am.
और आज में तो most flooding is man-made flooding. उसको बचाने के लिए आप linking river, which is so expensive. Just imagine going against the topography is extremely expensive. और नेचर में वैसे लिंकिंग है, जहां जहां लिंकिंग पॉसिबल है वहां है ही है, उसी को ही रखना चाहिए.
True, ma'am. There is one more question from student Jaidar. How can we look at reviving lakes and the importance of them at a local level? Can ecotourism be considered for the same?
See, lakes, reviving lakes for exploitation is first you must revive lakes in their true sense. If a lake is dying, find out the reasons why it is dying. If you diagnose the problem, then only you can give a treatment. If you go to a doctor, he should be able to diagnose your problem. So you have to diagnose why the lake is dying. You get the reasons 1, 2, 3, 4. You try to solve those problems and revive the lake. Ecotourism cannot help in reviving the lake for its life. Ecotourism is more about awareness, that you can bring people to that place, tell them this is a dying lake, it needs to be revived. So they would be aware. Okay, but then after awareness, you have to get down. I will like to give you one example from Indore. There is a lake called Sirpur Lake, the lake was dying. It was filled with garbage, people had built the edges around it, and it was dying a slow death. So the population around the lake who were living there, they got together and they said no to many developers who were trying to build up the lakeside, and they diverted all the garbage from there. They worked themselves to make the edges soft, and the population became policemen of the lake, that no, you cannot encroach on the lake. They actually became policemen, and this lake is now a celebrated lake. People are so proud of it, and it invites so many migratory birds over there. I have the documentation of the birds who are coming to this lake. So it is a successful example without government aid, without spending money, just by people trying to save that lake. So it is a very successful example. No money involved, just by people's awareness and action. Now you can take ecotourism and tell them the success story. But the people living around that lake have to respond. So there are many such examples where when I was in Detroit, every few days some people would come and start measuring the forest area that was across the highway. So people of that colony, Farmington Hills, would gather together and they would make those people run away from there. Because forests and lake beds are the cynosure of developers. They love to build there. Okay? तो फॉरेस्ट को भी बचाना जरूरी है, लेक को भी बचाना है. So everyone can do something. Like I'm here in Bhopal. In my whatever I could do, I have done. So like there is an island in the middle of the upper lake, and this island there was a proposal. It has a very nice vegetated edge. So there was a proposal, a typical administrative IAS गया वहाँ बोलता है इसके झाड़ झंकार निकाल दो, इधर सुंदर टाइल्स लगा दो. So I said, why? This is not झाड़ झंकार. This is the home of many types of amphibians and many fish. और ये वहाँ अंडे दे रही है. Why you want to pave it? So in India we have to become activists to do something. So in whatever little way we could save that island from getting paved. But normally people would like to pave the edges of a water body. उनको लगता है ये झाड़ झंकार है, पानी गंदा कर रहा है. But paving is not a good solution. It has to have a soft edge. Like your eyes have eyelashes. The eyelashes keep away the dust particles. Okay, to keep your eyes nice and beautiful. Just imagine your eyes if you did not have the eyelashes. So lake का भी जो soft edge है उसके eyelashes हैं. Why do you want to take away the eyelashes from the lake? Right? They are the shock absorbers. Like in Bombay, the mangroves are the shock absorbers from the sea. Your vehicle में तो best shock absorbers लगाओगे. But for your cities, you don't want the shock absorbers. Okay? So mangroves are the shock absorbers. Likewise, the soft water edge is the shock absorber or the protective edge to the biodiversity. Just here, I have documented about 25 birds in one of the wetlands near Balsana. And it is a simple wetland of a village. कोई protected site नहीं है. But they could come there because the edges are soft. Villagers are not rich enough to pave the edges of the water. Sometimes too much of money harms the place.
Take the last question, Mrunmayee.
Yeah, it was, ma'am, very nicely. I mean, like, it's such a simple example you gave for the eye and explain such a complex relationship between lake and edges.
So you will not respond to water bodies properly.
That's true. Ma'am, can we take the last question?
Yeah, sure. No problem.
It's a question from Professor Gauri Daga. How to build water conservation resources in areas where there is a high scarcity of water. Do you think water canals will be helpful all over India?
See, it depends on the climatic zone you are into, because you can build canals, but what about evaporative loss? If you are in a hot climate, there would be, if you build canals, पूरा पानी उड़ जाएगा भाप बन के फटाक से. So it depends on the climatic zone you are in. Okay. So water conservation techniques, there are many type of water conservation techniques depending, like you have step wells in the past. Step wells were constructed to protect the water from evaporative loss. उसको shade में रखते थे. Okay. So you can have like in places near Aurangabad in Maharashtra, it is facing a lot of Aurangabad. There is a place, a part of Maharashtra which is having famine continuously. And if you make little contour bunds in these places, so whatever water falls, it percolates down. So it will build up a vegetative color, like what did Baba Amte do to his village? He built small contour dams, and water was flowing down the slopes, वो रुका, percolate gaya, and it created a green cover. And now uh, uh, the place which was becoming a desert has become lush green area, and people are not going away from their village. They are growing things over there. Grapes उग रहे हैं, अनार उग रहे हैं. They are they have turned reverse the process of desertification. So you need very little measures. You only have to do कि जितनी भी बारिश आए, you don't let it flow off to evaporate. You let it percolate inside and recharge the groundwater. जैसे ही groundwater recharge होगा, the green cover will come up. So there are very small measures that you can do in conserving the water. Many places water just flows off, because today when we are paving everything and causing floods, water flows off into rivers, rivers flood, and the fresh water unnecessarily flows into the sea, and seawater is rising. So we have to, the nature allows only leftover water to flow into the sea. It holds the water as much as possible. So that holding mechanism should be put into place. That is grasses, the little shrubs and the trees, which are the holding mechanism for the water. Now you will say, without water, how will the grasses grow? I'm not talking of the lawn grasses, but the jungly grasses, which are जिससे झाड़ू बनते हैं, जिससे the jute thing, and which are seasonal, but their roots, they hold the soil and they hold the water. So the measures are simple and involve no cost, but they can do a lot of work. So you must do water conservation. There are some traditional ways of conserving water. Like I said, simple things is try to hold the water when it falls on the ground. In nature, it holds the water. If it rains and after rain you walk on the ground which is vegetated, you can feel the squishiness of the ground. That squishiness proves that water is being held, and slowly it will percolate down. If you don't hold it, it will evaporate or it will flow into the drains. And many places the surface water is taken into sewage water drain. That is again a very insensitive way of doing it. ड्रेनेज आपका सीवेज से जुड़ा होता है, आप अच्छे पानी को unnecessarily dirty कर रहे.
I think that was all, Mrunmayee?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. That was the last question. Thank you so much, Savita ma'am, for your enthusiastic responses to all the queries that were raised, or the questions or the comments. There was so much that we all could learn and look at too through your session today.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
We look forward to having you again.
Yes.
Okay.
Next academic
But
year, we
talk
will.
about Narmada and Amarkantak.
Why not? Why not? We will look forward to having you again in next Samvad Shrinkhala, probably in next academic year, June, July. Uh, we will keep. We will not leave you.
Today I was really hard pressed with time. I
No, but
was outside. I just came in right when you rang up. I was just coming in.
no, but it
I
was
sent you
wonderful.
the presentation, though it is just pictures, but I think it would have reached to Sunanda.
Yeah, I think they have learned a lot, and that showed from the questions also that they are looking for.
Questions were very nice.
Yeah.
Very
So good. Shall we end the session, Mrunmayee?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, yes, ma'am. So before we conclude the session, we at CTSEOA would once again thank you, Savita ma'am, and all of you for being a wonderful and enthusiastic audience in this integrating session. We look forward to meeting you all again tomorrow at the same time, where architect Rahul Chemburkar will continue with his series of Jal Akhyan through his Tales of Pyas, Water Heritage of Mumbai. So see you all. Take care and stay safe. Thank you.
okay. Bye bye.
Bye. See
Bye.
you again. Bye.